Taming the High Cost of College, Episode 58.
You have kids, they grow up, and before you know it, it's time to plan for college.
Where do you start?
How much is it going to cost?
Will you qualify for financial aid?
Should you be looking into scholarships?
When will you be able to retire?
What about student loans?
The list of questions is never ending. The good news is, all the answers are right here. Welcome to the Taming the High Cost of College podcast. Here is your host, certified financial planner, Brad Baldridge.
Hello, and welcome to Taming the High Cost of College. I'm your host, Brad Baldridge. Today we have a great interview with Roger Dooley. He is a founder of College Confidential, which is a great website out there that families can use in the college search process. So before we jump into the interview with Roger, I just wanted to introduce the website quickly. So I use College Confidential with some of the clients that I'm working with because they offer a great search feature. So they have most colleges are in their database, and then you can sort that database based on criteria like what state the college is in. So if you want to find all the colleges in a particular state, or if there's a private schools or public schools, or all the different ways that you might be able to sort and search for colleges. But in addition to the normal useful ways that people sort colleges, there's also a few ways that you could sort the colleges that are a little different than some of the other databases. You know, they have a criteria, is this college a party school? And then the answers can be kind of neutral, and it also could be this college is known for being a party school. And another answer can be, I'm not a partier and I'm looking for a school where partying is not a focus. So again, just as an example of some search criteria that's a little different at College Confidential than it might be in some of the other places you search. So you can use College Confidential in addition to what might be available at your high school, which might be Naviance or one of those programs, or you could use it in addition to College Board, which is another great sorting site. But College Confidential also has message boards. So message boards are essentially a message back and forth from people that are interested in a particular topic. So if you wanted to find information about a particular college, so a popular area would be that students that are trying to learn more about a particular college. So there'd be message boards that are dedicated to the Ivy League or dedicated to Harvard or Yale or University of Chicago or Caltech, where people that have interest of what it might take to be accepted or how do you apply or what they've learned on visits, they're able to kind of discuss what's going on with each other by leaving messages for each other. It's also a great place, I think, for families where you might be a little bit isolated. I've seen situations where perhaps your student is the only student from that particular high school that's considering going out of state to a particular school. And it gives the student an opportunity to connect with other people that are also considering that same school, so they don't feel like they're all alone, so to speak. So there's a lot of great information available at College Confidential. I encourage you to go check it out. Just be careful. The message boards can be addicting, and you can spend tons of time reading about what other people are doing with the college process instead of getting to work on what you need to be doing. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the interview with Roger. As always, we have show notes at tamingthehighcostofcollege/58. Let's get into it. All right, today we have an interview with Roger Dooley. He's one of the co-founders of College Confidential, a great website that I often recommend to people. Welcome, Roger.
Hi, Brad. Happy to be here.
Great having you. So College Confidential is a website that I've been, perusing since I've been doing college planning, probably for the last 10, 12 years. So I've kind of watched it evolve, and obviously you have too, because you were instrumental in that. Can you tell us a little bit about what College Confidential is and isn't?
Well, sure. We actually go all the way back to 2001, so you were an early user, but not among the very first ones, Brad. And it was originally an effort to bring free, useful information to both parents and students. I had just gone through the college process with both of my kids and had connected with some college experts, where I was not a college expert, except as sort of a veteran of having gone through it. And there was a real dearth of information out there in any form. Even some of the books that came out later, of course, weren't out yet. And as far as free information on the internet, there was really very little. And so we started College Confidential initially as an information site where we had article content about different aspects of the college process, whether it's getting in or financial aid, or how to, in particular, approach the elite school application process that is really kind of mysterious. And most guidance counselors at the time, and even today, aren't all that knowledgeable about it unless they happen to be from a school that sends a lot of kids to elite schools. So that was the initial plan. And as part of it, I created a discussion forum there. And the idea was that no expert knows everything about every aspect of college. In particular, nobody knows all about the hundreds or thousands of colleges. There are between 3,000 and 4,000 schools of higher education in the U.S., so nobody can know all about those. And if you have a parent in Wyoming who wants to know about a college in rural Massachusetts, that information is going to be difficult to find unless there is a really robust community that has people from all over on it. And as a result, they can get that sort of information from perhaps a student, an ex-student, a parent of a student, and so on. So that was the original concept, and it proved to be reasonably successful. We grew and grew, and in particular, the forum aspect grew a lot and became really the tail wagging the dog. And the appeal is that there's a lot of activity there, and there's always a way of finding out about a particular topic. And of course, like any crowdsourced information, it's not always perfect. And you have to sort of sort out who knows what they're talking about from folks who may not know quite as much, but in aggregate, it's very valuable.
Right. So for those listeners out there that don't really know what a forum is, 'cause I think that might be a new idea for many parents. Can you explain basically what that is?
Sure. A forum is an online community where any individual, at least in the case of College Confidential, any individual can register and post. And certainly it's free to read. You don't even have to register to read. And we find that probably a majority of the folks who visit the site just lurk. They never actually register or post. They just read what other people have posted. But it's perhaps in some ways a little bit like Facebook. There's not quite the same emphasis on sort of social interaction in groups of friends. It's a lot more topically oriented. So if you want information about financial aid, there's a forum for that. If you want information on SAT prep, there's a forum for that. If you want information on Harvard or any other one of hundreds of schools that we have individual forums for, you can go to that forum and read what people have posted and also ask your own questions.
Right. So if you go to the forum, essentially there's hundreds, maybe even thousands of different topics some are very focused, some are kind of broad, but I've seen topics like Harvard class of 20, what would they be about now, 2019 or 2020?
Right. Yeah. That's been kind of popular. It's given students a chance to sort of bond before arrival. And one of my favorite stories from College Confidential was really in sort of the early days, and it's probably less the case now because there are so many kinds of ways to interact online with big social networks and so on. But one of the first indications that we were having an impact was from a comment from an admissions person, I think it was at Smith College, where they noticed that these people were showing up for their freshman orientation, and they were all sort of clumping around and acting as if they knew each other. And this was kind of unusual behavior that they'd never seen before. And they're wondering, well, these people are from different places. How could that be? And it turned out that they had connected on College Confidential and were swapping their screen names and so on to introduce each other.
Right. So I think that's one of the big advantages of College Confidential is if you're feeling a little bit of alone, maybe there's only 3 kids in your whole high school that are considering, private schools out of state. So there's not a lot of camaraderie. Everybody's going to the local state U except for, just a few kids. And those few kids are looking for people to chat with or whatever it might be, or people that are in the same boat as them where they can share information. And I think that's one of the areas and it works both for parents and for students, where there's areas where students can talk to each other about what are the dorms like. Give me a dorm recommendation at this school. whatever it might be like that. And also for parents, it's like, how do you pay for this particular school? Or what kind of aid did you get? Or all those things. And a lot of those things there's an attempt to put them in various folders or what they call threads, so that a similar topic is in a similar area. And people comment on comments, so you could read what somebody says, and if you wanted to interject or answer, you can.
Right. And of course, the forum is totally searchable too. So it's easy to track down past discussions on your topic of interest. If you're looking for, an obscure college or something like that, you can search and almost certainly find it.
Right. And what I tell people is there's a lot of great information. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time or an understanding of how to do a quality search and find it. But it's also information that's not been filtered by the particular college.
Right. And that's really important too. I think certainly most colleges do a pretty good job of putting information about their school and its various aspects online. But often prospective students and their parents want a more unfiltered view. And College Confidential is one place to get that. And one of the fun things that I've seen develop at College Confidential over the years is the fact that unlike a lot of communities where it's primarily students or primarily parents and they're sort of exchanging information, there's quite a bit of interaction between students and parents. And oftentimes, some of our most productive and helpful members are parents who have gone through the process with their kids and have learned so much along the way. And then instead of just saying, okay, well, thank goodness I'm done with that and going on about their business, they stick around to sort of help and act as mentors for a new crop of students coming in. And that's something that was really practically non-existent. I know when I went through the process with my kids, I felt very alone out there, that I was in exactly the kind of high school situation that you described, where there were not many kids interested in elite or out-of-state schools. The counseling support was practically non-existent for that type of effort. And there weren't even many parents to interact with who, you could even talk to and exchange that kind of information, where now you can be part of a pretty much nationwide and even global community of parents. So that's been really fun. And these parents that stick around to help each new generation of students are really, I think, add to the value of the site and provide a great experience.
Right. Absolutely. So a couple quick questions. Do you guys read everything that's posted? Do you filter it? Do you verify it?
No, that would be absolutely impossible. There are thousands and thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of posts each day. So no, we do not read everything. We do have a moderation crew who respond to, they read some things on their own, but they also respond to reports. Any member can report a problematic post. So if somebody is, posting some kind of advertising content or spam or profanity or some violation of our terms of service, a member can report that, and the moderators will check that out, and if it's problematic, remove it and offer some counseling to the member who posted it and explain, okay, this is why we had to remove this. Right. And fortunately, 99.99% of the content is fine. And we found that our members are pretty good at spotting the problematic stuff and letting the moderators know so we can clean it up. One thing that I think has been instrumental in College Confidential's growth over the years is that my initial philosophy was one of a high level of courtesy between members. Now, it's not always perfect. I'm sure that you could search and find some threads where people are hollering at each other or saying some not so nice things, but by and large, that has been the one key foundation for the site. I know that I visit a lot of forums. I have for probably since there were online forums going back to CompuServe, and some of these can be kind of nasty. I've been at technical sites where somebody shows up looking for some help. They've got an error on their computer, or they're trying to install software and it's not working. They post the question hoping to get some help from the experts there. And instead of getting help, they get insulted and told to read the form, stupid. This has been asked before. And, it's not a very good experience. And that's something that we just did not want. We wanted people, because we know that every year there are people coming in who are largely clueless about the college process, just as I was when I started with my kids. If you just tell these people that, hey, don't waste our time with questions that have been answered before, it's not going to be a great experience for them. So we really try and enforce that courtesy, because once these folks get through their first few posts, then they have the confidence to engage in longer conversations. And there's actually, and not just on College Confidential, but I've observed that on other forums, there's almost kind of an arc of membership where people sort of stumble in the doors as newbies with a question. Like they found the forum because they did a Google search and they found a relevant thread. So they show up and they ask a question. And sometimes they just get their answer and leave. But many of those members will stick around and begin participating in more discussions. I mean, first, they're sort of the clueless newbie who's asking questions and just hoping to get some help. After a while, they are participating in discussions more as an equal, and then they eventually evolve into answering questions because they have learned themselves, both through participation in the forum and perhaps through their own experience. And then they have the comfort level with their knowledge to help the new generation of clueless newbies who stumble into the forum. And that's really an ideal situation if you can foster it. And it all comes down to trying to keep a friendly, helpful atmosphere.
Right. All right. So I guess to just reiterate a point that I made earlier is that because nothing is verified there, if you saw, as an example, a scholarship deadline is November 1st. Well, I wouldn't necessarily rely on that. It probably is accurate, but nobody has verified it. So
right.
You probably should.
That's good advice in general. I mean, even sometimes information on seemingly official websites can be wrong because the date has been updated or something like that. One thing that we do verify are college reps. Some colleges appoint a rep from the admissions office to participate in the discussions at College Confidential. And we do verify that these people are who they say they are, that if they say they're from Carleton College, that they really are from Carleton College. And their user IDs are flagged with a little thing that says college rep. So when that person says the deadline is next Thursday, you can be pretty sure that it is indeed next Thursday. The other way that, and not just at College Confidential, but in any online community, the way you sort out sort of who is providing good information and who maybe not so much is you can look at a member's history of posts. If they've posted 3 times on a forum, whether it's College Confidential or elsewhere, and they're providing these supposedly definitive answers, you might want to question that because they simply don't have a body of work that you can look at, and you don't know how reliable they are. Other times you'll find that, somebody has had 10,000 posts and they've been a member for 7 years or something like that. And that person is probably fairly reliable, and not that they're always right. They may be opinionated, and their opinions may be not necessarily in agreement with your opinions, but by and large, that person is stuck around and survived for that long. And you can always go back. If you think they're biased, you can go back and read some of their older stuff and say, okay, well, yeah, this person really is kind of biased about that particular school, and then discount their information appropriately.
Right. Absolutely. So I think that, again, the forum, I think, is a great place to build, be part of a community, learn specific things where maybe you don't have it available. But that's just one piece of College Confidential. Let's talk about what else is out there. I know you have, as an example, a college search area. Is there Anything else that might be of interest to parents that are in the college process?
Well, actually, the college search feature, which we call SuperMatch, is one of the features that I'm most proud of on the site. When this was first coded, the first version a few years ago, we ultimately, the founders of College Confidential sold the business to a company called Hobson's, who is a large company in the higher ed space. Also, they are the owners of Naviance, which many high schoolers and their parents will be familiar with. So they're very much in that higher ed and also preparation for higher ed space. So there's a very good fit there. And when we were on our own, we didn't really have the resources to develop a tool like we did, but we wanted to create something that was different than any other college search tool on the market, because there were certainly some pretty good tools. College Board has an excellent one, but the typical mode of operation is that they're a sieve. You put in criteria, and those schools that meet the criteria are selected, and all the other schools drop out. And it's not a bad way to start a list of colleges that you might be interested in. The problem is you may put a value in that knocks out the school that's potentially the best for your particular needs. So if you say, gee, I want to go to school in Texas, and if the school that has absolutely the best fit otherwise in terms of the majors available, the size, the nature of the campus, and all these other criteria are perfect, but they're in Oklahoma, that school would not appear in a typical search program if you said, I want schools in Texas. In the case of SuperMatch, it uses a different type of matching algorithm that would, if it was indeed more perfect than most of the schools in Texas for your needs, it would appear probably somewhere in your top 10 and say, okay, this didn't meet your Texas criteria, but boy, otherwise it's great. So that kind of logic really, I think, set it apart and made it a lot of fun. And the other thing that makes it fun to use is that every time you enter a new criterion into it, whether it's the campus size or, there were, I think, probably like 40 different variables that you can enter, both things about you and your interests, as well as things that you want a school to have. Every time you do that, it immediately resorts and re-ranks your choices so that you can actually see your college list developing before your eyes. And the best feedback we had on that made me really happy that we were doing something right was frequently when we introduced it, people would say, I went and I used SuperMatch and I found all of the schools that were on my college list, plus 2 or 3 others that I hadn't thought of. And to me, that meant that it was working, because we accurately predicted the kinds of schools that the student would be interested in, but we also found a few sort of out of the box suggestions that they found interesting.
Right, and that's great. So again, for parents out there, what we're, in general, the way these types of search programs work is you enter what you're looking for. So I'm looking for a small private college in the Midwest that has between 2,000 and 6,000 students and offers biology majors. And, so you can do something very selective like that, or you could say, show me all the engineering schools in the United States. So it allows you to find criteria. And I noticed that using the various criteria in normal, but College Confidential has some interesting criteria that a lot of other search engines I've seen do not offer. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah, things like the sort of political leaning and things like that, which may not be important to some people, but one of the real challenges in building a college list, and of course that's something that every prospective student does, is that there are so many choices. You mentioned show me every engineering school in the country, and that would be an enormous list. So the student is faced with, how do I whittle this down into something manageable? And so we try and provide a variety of different sorts of choices that let the student add a criterion and say, okay, well, what happens if I do this? And then if they say, well, that's not really that important. They can back that out and try something else and see how it changes their choices. So, I think that coming up with a good college list is one of the trickiest parts. And one of the problems, I think, is that we tend to focus on a few brand name schools. There's so much emphasis on rankings like U.S. News being the most prominent one, and schools like Ivy League schools or Stanford and MIT and Caltech and so on. Students kind of lose track of the fact that there are many, many excellent schools that can give them a great education, and that getting into one of these schools, like an Ivy League school, is not necessarily the golden ticket to life success. It's sad to say. I mean, certainly these are awesome schools. You can get a great education there. The people that you're attending school with will undoubtedly be very talented and interesting people, but it is not necessarily the only way to succeed in education or in life. And most of the variables in, say, predicting future income or career success and so on relate a lot more to the individual. In other words, if you're smart enough to get into Princeton, but instead you go to your flagship state school, chances are you're going to have an awesome career. It's not that Princeton magically confers on you this halo that will now, lead to direct career success. The fact is, if you were smart enough to get admitted, not only smart enough, but accomplished enough, because it's typically these schools look at more than just scores. They're looking at all kinds of life accomplishments, looking at your motivation and so on. You're going to be successful regardless of where you go to school. Now, obviously, you want to go to a school that has enough resources so that you can both pursue what you think you're interested in, and also you've got some fallback plans so that if you thought, boy, I really want to be an engineer, you want to, I think, look for schools that give you an option to say, oh boy, I thought I wanted to be an engineer, but after a year of engineering coursework and maybe an internship, this isn't really what I want to do. Certainly it's best to go to a school that has some other options. If you want to go into, liberal arts or business or pure science or some other field, that you can do that.
Right. Absolutely. So other than those two that we've talked about, so we've got the forum as one big area within College Confidential. Then we've got the college search. Is there anything else out there that?
Well, yeah, we've got what we call the sort of information part of our site, and the forum is at talk.collegeconfidential.com, and the main site is just at collegeconfidential.com or www.collegeconfidential.com. If you just type College Confidential in, it'll get to the main site, which is, you can then navigate to the forum or look at the information, the articles there. So there are hundreds of articles, and new ones are being added each month. We've also got an Ask the Dean column, which is written by Sally Rubenstone. She's a college expert and one of the partners in College Confidential. And that's every month she answers several questions sent in by students or parents. It's sort of a Dear Abby, if you will, for college-bound students, where they ask everything from, I was suspended for 3 days in high school. What's this going to do to my chance for college, getting into the college of my choice, or all kinds of questions. And then Dave Barry, who's a founder of College Confidential, writes a column called Admit This. And again, he looks at sort of different aspects of the college process, whether it's getting into the school of your choice or preparing to head for college in the fall and so on. And so both of those are very popular features.
All right. So I guess that'd be kind of the third leg then, is you just have articles and good information written by a number of different experts available, and question and answer forums, it sounds like, where you're getting answers from the expert. So
right.
All right, great. Well, again, let's repeat. How do we get? It's collegeconfidential.com is the website. Is there any way other ways that they can get involved, Facebook or other areas?
Really, College Confidential does have a Facebook presence and a Twitter account and so on. But going directly to the site is probably the best way. And anyone who wants to connect with me can do so by going to rogerdooley.com. That's ROGERDOOLEY. And that's sort of a gateway to the various things that I'm involved in these days.
All right. Well, great. I appreciate all the great information, and hopefully people will be checking out College Confidential.
Well, great talking to you, Brad. Thanks for inviting me on.
All right. Thank you. All right. That was our interview with Roger. Hopefully you learned a ton. As always, we have show notes available at tamingthehighcostofcollege/58. Also, if you can leave us a rating or review in iTunes or Stitcher, that helps us be found by other people that are looking to learn about college planning. That's all we have for today, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Taming the High Cost of College podcast. Now it's time for you to take action. Head to tamingthehighcostofcollege.com for show notes, bonus content, and to leave feedback for Brad. The next step on your college journey starts now.
Brad Baldridge is a registered representative of Cambridge Investment Research and an investment advisor representative of Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer and member of FINRA and SIPC. Brad owns two companies, Baldridge Wealth Management and Baldridge College Solutions. The Baldridge companies are not affiliated with Cambridge Investment Research.